Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we'll start the Sanhedrin daf Tzadi Vav. We're going to begin on Tzadi Vav, but Alpha about 15 lines or so from the top, quoting the pasuk in Sefer Bereshis, "V'yachalik alehem layla." So this is regarding the battle of the four kings against the five kings, in which, as we know, the four kings defeated the five kings, and Lot was in captivity, and Avram came to save the day. So it says that the Chalik Alehem Laila, that it was divided up the night. We'll see what Laila means here. Kuba Avada v'Yakim v'Goymer, and he smote them. So why are we bringing this down? We're just talking about Sanhedrin. We're talking about the whole situation where Sanhedrin's children were the few people that were spared when it came to Sanhedrin trying to conquer Yerushalayim. Everyone else was killed by a malach, and then ultimately his children killed him. So I did the Iri b'malachim, Iri nami b'hai kra. So we're talking about angels. We're going to talk about this pasuk where it says v'hi b'layla hahu v'yetzi malach Hashem, etc. Okay, so therefore we have this pasuk as well. Okay, anyway, so that's the connection. The angel that chanced upon Avraham to assist him in the battle, the malach's name was Laila. Okay, that the night, this malach said that this male child conceived. That the heavens fought with him a Maisa Laila. Says Rashi, Nilchamo b'shviloi koichve Laila, Kamoshos b'shvil Barak, Shnemer min hashemayim nilchamu hakochavim, mimis solayosam. That from the heavens they battled the stars in their paths. Nilchamu im Sisra. Fine. Amareish Lakish, Tava denavcha. Midvar Navcha. Better is Navcha, the blacksmith, than Bar Navcha. Says Rashi. Rav Yochanan was called Bar Navcha throughout Shas. Man Ayel Bar Navcha near Lamayri de Aviv Shrav Yochanan Havi Navcha. So the father of Yochanan was Navcha. Achimikri Bar Navcha V'yistim Afarshi Bar Navcha Al Shem Yoifyoi. It could be some element of him being handsome or something along those lines. Anyway, so there's two interpretations. One's Rav Yochanan, and the other one's Rav Yitzchak Navcha. So he said that Tava de Navcha is better than Bar Navcha. So Rav Yochanan was called Bar Navcha. Okay. Yirdafa done. So he pursued them until dawn. Omer Rav Yochanan Kivon ba oisot tzaddik adon. Once Abraham made it to this location, Tashish Koicha got weak. Rabbinei Banav Shasidin Avodah Zarah B'don. Abraham saw that eventually we're going to worship idols there. Shnemar V'Yosim Eso Echad B'Beis El, that there was an Avodah Zarah in the time by Yeravam that was placed there. Eso Echad Nosin B'don. It says one of the idols that he put was in Dun, and therefore he got weak once he encountered that city. V'af oiso Rasha uniskaber. Nebuchadnezzar himself was not strong. Actually, Gil Dun until he got to Dun. Never B'Dun Nishma Nechart Susav, the snorting of the horses. Armor Reb Zer Afgav the Shalach Rabbi Yehud Meser Memsivin his here Bezak and Sheshach Tamidum Lachmas Ainsai. As we said, you have to be careful. If you have a Zaken who, even if he forgot his Torah, you have to always be careful to still show him respect. And also, these Haru Bivaridin, Ki Rabbi Huda, he says you also have to be careful with these veins, as it's brought down in Chulin, says Rashi, Haridin. You have to shecht even the blood vessels of a bird. Hoyel, Sol who kul ke'echa, they're all together. In Chaydcha, Yimalcho, Kibasar Chaya Behema. So you have to be careful about removing the blood, making sure it's a good shechita. You also have to be careful about the children of Amaratzim, that from them Torah comes out. Says Rashi, Shinaso Talmid Chachamim Lasalhin Kavod, to give them honor. Shemehem Tetu Torah Yisrael Shahari Yotsu Shemayev Avtalyoin, says Rashi. Memnei Banav Shel Sanhedrin. Shemayev and Avtalyoin actually were related, the children of Sanhedrin, or eventual relatives. Memnei Banav Shel Haman, Lom the Torah Memnei Brak. You have to Rabbi Huda Haki, he's Memnei Amaretz. You have to be cautious about them, because they do have descendants who potentially could become tzaddikim. Fine. Kiha milsa moidinan lahu, and when this matter becomes known, to notify them. Says Rashi, ki hechi dechazinan lakaman, as we'll see later, the only reason why he was given any honor, as we'll see later on, that he took 4 steps in honor of God. The children of Aretz, obviously there must be something redeemable about their fathers. As bad as they are, they must have done something good to be zeichet such children. Whose heart shemehen Tetzi Torah, ki hechid nafkum v'sancherev, ki hamilsa moedim who live neam aretz. Since Sanhedrin showed, fine, that's the idea behind that. Okay, ki hamilsa moedin lahu tzaddik atah Hashem ki orev alecha. Hashem is a tzaddik because you quarrel el mishpatim edaber oischa, with laws and righteous judgment. I speak with you. Madua derech rishayim solcha shaloi. Why are the way of the wicked successful? Kol boigdei boged, anyone who's treacherous. Nitatim gam sharsho, they plant even the roots are taken out. Yelechu gam osu peri, they also produce fruit. So my hadole, what was the response? Kias reglayim ratzatza, because they were fast runners. V'yalech, and they're worn out. Vayech tatchara esasusim. V'art shalom ato boiteach, in the peaceful land you have faith. Vayech tase begoin hayarden, and how can you do this to the heights of the Jordan? Mashal adam echad shemer yachol ani oroitz gilmo parsayis lifnei asusim. I can run 3 parsa in front of horses. Bain Bitzi Hamayim, in the marshy lands. Nizdamnu Ragli Echad, so they chanced one of them. Ratzel Fun of Gimel Milin, and they went 3 mil. Biabasha, in the dry land. Vanilla, and he was exhausted. Armali Malifne Ragli Kach, and the Susam Al Chazakama. You can't even outpace a regular person. Horses, of course not. Uma shleishes milim kach gilma prasos achas kavakama. So much further. Ma be a basha kach, you can't even do it in dry land. Bein bitzi hamayim achas kavakama. Afata so to you. Ma beschar arba ptsiois. The reward of these 4 steps that you took, shalamti loisa rasha, that I pay this wicked person, shrutz acher kavoidi, that you did run after my honor. Ato tamya, you should be shocked. Kishanim misham sechal avraham yitzav Yaakov shiratzov ne kasusim. It's like they ran in front of horses. Alax kama kama. Certainly they should receive great reward. Hanasiv l'naviyim nishmar libi. To the prophets, my heart is broken. Mikir me inside. Rachvoi kolatz moisai. All my bones are shaking. Hayisi k'ish shikor. I'm like an intoxicated person. K'gibor over yayin mimnei Hashem mimnei divrei kadshay. So hani dalad psiyos maihi. We keep talking about these 4 steps. What exactly happened? Chsiv beisa he shalach miroidach. So during that time, it was sent by this person miroidach Bladon ben Bladon melch bavel svarim. So he sent a messenger, sent notes. The guy mishum ki chol Chizkiah, because Chizkiyahu was sick, michazik, and he got better. Shadul svarim umincha. I understand why all of a sudden did they start sending, this guy started sending messages just because Chizkiyahu was sick and he got better. Like, what happened over here? Yes, that's what happened. Lidraish Hamaifis Hasher Ba'aretz, because he was seeking out the wonder that happened when Chizkiyahu got healthy. When Achaz died, who was a Rasha, Achaz was the king. He was a king who was a Rasha. There was only 2 hours of daylight. However, when Chizkiyahu got recovered, the 10 hours that were missing because of when Achaz died, we got an extra 10 hours because of that you stepped into this shade that went down in the steps of Achaz. But Shemesh Achrainis Eser Milas, that you're going backwards 10 steps. Now, what does that mean? V'tashav Hashemesh Eser Milas b'Milas Asher Yorada. It went back the 10 hours that were missing before. So what ended up happening, instead of a regular 12-hour day, it ended up being a 22-hour day. Armale my high. So they didn't know what happened. Why is this happening? Says Rashi, why 2 hours? This is because they didn't want to have time for him to have a proper eulogy and to be buried. So therefore it was only for 2 hours. So Armale Chizkiyahu Cholish V'Isbach. Chizkiyahu was sick and he got better, and therefore that's why he had so much sunlight. Omer Ika Gavra Ki Hai V'Lo Be'ina L'Shturi Le'Shalma. So there's such a great person, we should certainly greet him. So Kasube, he wrote the following: Shalma L'Malka Chizkiya. Greetings unto you, King Chizkiya. Shalom L'Karti Yerushalayim. Greetings to the city of Yerushalayim. And then lastly, Shalom L'Eloha Rabba. Greetings to your great God. So it's interesting that he put God's name last. So the Margos Yom asks, like, why did he put his name last? So maybe you can say Achron Chaviv. So the question sounds like he didn't do anything wrong. So Nebuchadnezzar Safre, so the scribe Nebuchadnezzar basically wrote to Bladan Hoya Hahi Shaita Loy Havi Hasam. So he wasn't there. Ki also Emru Lahu Hechi Kasvisu. How should it be written? Amalei Hachi Kasvisu. This is how it should be written. Armalhus, Nebuchadnezzar said, Karisu Le'Eloha Rabba V'Kasvisu Le'Basayv. Elwa Hachiksav. This is how it should be written. Shalom Le'Eloha Rabba. Shalom Akarta Yerushalayim Shalom Malcha Chizkiya. So it should be the other way around. Basically, first you should mention God, then the Yerushalayim, then Chizkiyahu. So this showed the fact that he corrected it, that showed the godless of how he did it. Armalei Karne de Garta Hu Havi Parvanka. The one who's read the letter, he should be the one who carries it out. So says the Yad Ramah that the Malach carried the messenger back to Nebuchadnezzar, and so he wouldn't have to run further. But Rod Basrei, still he ran after him. Kid Rahit Arba Pasiyos. It's interesting on the side it says Sholish Pasiyos, 3 steps. Asa Gavriel v'Ukmi, and Gavriel stopped him. Amar Rav Yochanan Mali ba Gavriel v'Hamidu Lohaya Takanulus on the Sam Shel Yisrael. Because he did such a great thing that he was running to get this message, it would have actually caused him to potentially have caused the whole downside for Klal Yisrael. That he ran to these 4, maybe 3 steps, and some people say this is the Indian of us taking 3 steps and 3 steps is to counter the steps that Nebuchadnezzar took. Okay. My Baladan ben Baladan. What exactly is his name? So Amri Baladan Malkihav. He was a king. Vishtaniapia, and his face changed. Yeheki de Kalva, right? And his face, all of a sudden, he looked like a dog, right? And some people say Panei Melech, Panei Kelev, right? That leaders are like dogs, like who's leading who? Like a dog who's being held by a leash around its neck it looks like anyone who doesn't know any better, the dog's in front, but really it's the person behind who's really leading the dog. Havi Yosef Bere al Malchusa, ki Havi Kosev Havi Ksiv Shmei v'Shmei Davua Bladon Malka. This is what they wrote. So Hainu Diksiv Ben Yichbad Avi v'Avad Adoinav. Ben Yichbad Av Hadi Amran v'Avad Adoinav Diksiv v'Chodesh HaChamishi, in the 5th month, Be'esol Chodesh, the 10th of that month, Hishnas Teisha Esri Shana, that's the 19th year, L'melech Nebuchadnezzar Melech Bavel, Ba Nebuzradan Rav Tebachim. So Nebuzradan, who was like the general, he was the chief executioner, Almad Lifnei Melech, he stood in front of the king of Bavel, B'Yerushalayim, Yisrael from his Beis Hashem, to destroy the Beis HaMikdash from his Beis HaMelech. Fine. So this is what he did. As we continue to Tzadi Vav Amud Beis, we're going to learn a little bit about Nebuzradan. Nebuchadnezzar Yerushalayim. What do you mean? He wasn't there. That he went to the king of Bavel. Rivlasa. The Yomi Rabavo Zu Antukia. So he was actually in Antukia, which could be Turkey. So he wasn't even there. What are you talking about? So Rav Chisda Rav Yitzchak Bar Abdi Michado Eimer Demusti Yonke Haisa Chakukaloi El Merkavtai. That actually on his chariot it was engraved. It says Rashi Shel Nebuzradan. The Daimelo Kamoy She'oimen Lafanav. It was like he was there. And Kaksiv Ban Nebuchadnezzar V'Hainu Kavoid. The Chad Eimer Eimer Yisera Haisa Lo Mimenu. He had great fear. It was keilu, like he was actually there. So are these two opinions? The morale says Ahava is gazing upon his image. Yira, he had a pachad of him, even though he didn't wish to gaze upon him. Amirava tayin tlas meya kud nyasa, that he was carrying 300 Kunyasa, says Rashi, Masoi Shoshmeis Prados, 300 like mules. Narga de Parzala, he had an axe on iron. The Shalat Biparzala, that was able to cut through iron. Shadule Nebuchad Netzar Lenebuzradan. So he sent a message to Nebuzradan that Nebuzradan should destroy Yerushalayim. Kulhu Balasin, who all of them were broken. Chad Deshed Yerushalayim in one gate. They all went to one gate. Says Rashi Barzel Chodod. Okay, fine. So Shenemar Pesacheha Yachad B'Koshil, that the entranceways with a hammer B'Keil Fois Yehelomuin, and with a chisel in its ornaments. Boilu Mehedar, so Nebuzradan wanted to turn around. Oimer Mistapina, I'm afraid the Loli Evdu B shouldn't have to be Kehechede Avdu B'Sancherev. Sancherev tried to do Yerushalayim, he was killed in his whole army. So maybe the same thing will happen to me, Nebuzradan. Nafka Koil, voice came out of Yemer, Shaber ben Shaber, jumper, the son of a jumper. Says Rashi, Doileg ben Doileg, Kum v'chavish Yerushalayim. So for whatever reason, he was called this name, a jumper. Nebuzradan Shavar. The Mata Zimna, he was called this jumper. The Mata Zimna, it's reached your time, the Mikacha Chariv, that you'll be able to destroy the Beis HaMikdash. The Heichala Mikli, and the Heichal be burned. So partially Chad Narga, he took one axe. Asa Machi Bekupa, so he struck the gate. V'iftach, and it opened up. So basically, a bunch of all the people were smashing the gates, and then he just took his iron hammer, his axe, and smashed it once, and it opened. Shnemar Yodea ki mevi lamala. It was like it was brought from above. But savach eitz kardomais, with a thicket was its axe. I in the Margos Yom on that. Avikatov Uzl. He kept killing, the Nebuzradan kept killing everywhere and everyone. Adamatul Heichal. Once he made the Heichal, Adlik Bein Noira, he burnt it up. Gava Heichala Darchu Bei min Shemaya. So he trotted down, he was pushed back down. Shnemer Geis Derech Hashem, like a gate, which is a wine press, was pressed. L'bsulas Bas Yehuda. Kazicha Daite, so he felt arrogant. Navik Bas Kovi Amrle, Amon, a nation, Katila Katalt, you killed the nation. Hechol Kali Kolos, you destroyed the Hechol. Kimcha Techina Techinas, and you ground up into like fine flour. You ground everything up. Shnemer Kachiri Chaim, taking of the millstones, Utachini, and grind up. Kemach of flour. Golit Sam Teich, that you'll be exposed the head. Chashvi Shoivel, and it will be open. Your brain will be opened up. Gali Shoik Ivri Naharais, says Rashi. Paranya Zeh HaYakodesh Baruch Hu Oimel Yisrael L'chu v'tachnu Kemach, go and grind flour. Kalemer Tachunim Atem Kvar L'Kemach V'Tichseru. Fine. So chitim lo nemar el kemach. It doesn't say wheat, but it says kemach. What exactly is the significance of that? So what I read over here, Rabbi Yonah says that when a stick hits a dog, the dog gets mad at the stick. It isn't Nevuz Radan, he's merely the stick. Okay. I'm not sure why I wrote that over here. Goli shuk every naharais. Koimer techunim atem kfar lekemach. It was already ground up from before. Okay. Chazed damya de Zachariah. Then all of a sudden the Vuzradan came across the blood of Zachariah, who was killed. Dahavika rasach. His blood was bubbling. Armelahu maihai. What is this? Armelei dam zvachim hu dieshtapich. It's just blood of a carbon. Armelahu I see v'ansi I midamoi. I'm going to go and see if it looks like, and test it looks really as animal blood. So, kasivu idmu. So he shechted an animal, and he saw that Ataka was not the same thing. Amar lahu, goluli, tell me what it is. V'ilo, if you don't tell me what this blood is, sirik lahu l'besraichu b'masareka de parzala. I'm going to tear out your skin, your flesh, with an iron comb. So Amalei, hi koyin v'navihu. This is a koyin and navi. The invilu hu Yisrael b'chorban Yerushalayim, that he was killed. V'katluhu. So he was killed. That's who it is. So Amrulhu Anam Ifaisena. I know obviously Daniel, the fact that his blood is boiling and bubbling, it must be he's angry that he was killed. So I'm going to appease this blood and of Zachariah, and I'm going to kill until the blood stops bubbling. So Mafaisinale. I see Rabbanan Kotel Elui V'loi Noch. He killed a Rabbanan, it didn't stop. I see Dardiki Deberav Kotel Elui V'loi Noch. He harmed it, killed the little children, it didn't stop. I see Pirchi Kahuna Kotel Lahi V'loi Noch. Even the Pirchi Kahuna he killed. Ad de Kotel Lahu Tishin V'arba Ribua V'loi Noch. Until he killed 94 myriads, which is 940,000 people, and it didn't stop. Karba Gabe, he walked up to a Omer, Zachariah, Toivim Shebehem Iibadtim. I've destroyed the majority and the best of them. Nichalach, is it good for you? Should I just kill everyone out completely? To me, Adnach. At that time, the Zachariah's blood stopped. So hear her tshuva. At that moment, the Muzradan had a hear of tshuva, but died in his mind. Omer Mahim Shlo Ibdu El Nefesh Achas Kach. So what happened? There was such terrible punishments because they killed one person. So Ahu Gavra, referring to himself, and it was Radan, Mati Havila, it's going to happen to me because I'm a terrible person. I've murdered hundreds of thousands of people. So I'm certainly done for. So Nevuz Radan ran away, and Shadar Poltiasa Labesivisgayer. He sent a message to his family, and Nevuz Radan Taka converted. Tanubana Namon Ger Toishiv Hoya. Naaman became a Ger Toishiv. What is a Ger Toishiv? So Rashi, Shokibel Leha Shar Mitzvahs. He didn't accept all the mitzvahs. V'kibel of Shloi Lavadavas Gachavim. So at least Naaman was not going to worship idols. Naaman was the general of Aram, and Elisha cured him from Saras by having him immerse in the Yarden. Nebuzradan, we mentioned, was Taka Ger Tzedekah. He was mamish converted. Mibnei Banav Shel Sisra, the grandchildren of Sisra, was the king of Canaan, who, of course, we know he was killed by Yael, and his mother cried, and some people connect that to the shofar. Lom de Torah Yerushalayim. His grandchildren teach Torah in Yerushalayim. Mibnei Banav Shel Sanhedrin Lim de Torah Berabim. And Sanheriv's grandchildren, as Sanheriv was one of the most destructive people, wanted to wipe out Yerushalayim, and he killed the just wiped out the Aseres HaShvatim. He harmed a lot of them. So his children taught Torah Barabim. Uman Nidhu Shmai V'Aftalion, as we said before. B'nei Banav Shel Haman, Lam de Torah B'nei Brak. Haman's grandchildren taught Torah B'nei Brak. V'Avin B'nei Banav Shel Isa Rasha B'Ikei Shakadosh Baruch Lachnisan Tachas Kafei Shechina. Even when it came to this guy, Nebuchadnezzar Harasha, maybe his children would be also, or maybe he'll do tshuva. This guy destroyed the first base of Mikdash. Right? So it's interesting. Even though Nebuzradan, who basically destroyed the base of Mikdash, but he was able to do tshuva, but not Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar is the one who actually gets the credit for having destroyed the base of Mikdash. Hainu Dichsiv, as it says, Refoenu es Bavel v'lo nis near Pata. Heal Bavel, but not Nebuchadnezzar. Oimer zed Nebuchadnezzar. When it says v'lo nisrab ta, that's referring to Nebuchadnezzar. He'll never be able to do tshuva. Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani Oimer elu naros Bavel. This is referring to the rivers, says Rashi, Shehim roim lishtais, that are bad to drink. The Tirguma de Tsinyasa de Babloi, the rivers of Bavel. So the Marsha says that Al Nars Bavel, we said this before benching, which is like the bitter waters of Bavel, that we cried and remembered the sweet water in Yerushalayim. Amar Ula, Amon Moyev Shivve de Bishid Yerushalayim Havi. That Ammon and Moab were bad neighbors. Kivan de Shaminhu Lenavi deka misnavoy luchor banul Yerushalayim. Now, when it came that the Nevi'im talked about the prophesied the destruction of Yerushalayim, Shalchu when Nebuchadnezzar, so they sent to Nebuchadnezzar, Poik, leave at once. V'ta Aimer mistapina deloy le'evdu ki li. I don't want it to happen to me. K'da avdu b'kamoi, just like what happened to Sanheriv. So Shalchulei, so Ammon and Moab, were trying to get Nebuchadnezzar to destroy the base, to destroy Yerushalayim. He said, Ki ein ha'ish b'beisai. There's no one in the house. Halach b'derech merachik. Ein ish al Kadosh Baruch Hu. It means there's no one in the house. It means Hashem's not in the house anymore. Hashem's not going to protect them. Shem Hashem ish mochama shalchahu. So Nebuchadnezzar sent back to Ammon and Moab b'krive hu v'asi. But fine. He may not be in the house, but maybe God's close. So Shalchli Halch b'derech merachik. He's far away. Shalchlahu Islahu Tzadiki Deboy Rachmi Maisule. But maybe there's Tzadikim that were in trouble. I want to attack because maybe the schus of the Tzadikim will cause me to be killed. So Shalchale Sorer Hakesev Lokach Biyadai, that the bag of silver was taken in your hand. Vein Kesev El Tzadikim Shnemer V'Achra Li B'Chamisha Aser Al Kesev. Required her for 15 Kesev. V'Chaymer Sa'irim V'letech Sa'irim. So, like a rebellious wife who's unfaithful. Shalchahu Hadri Rashi B'Tshuva. So, they'll do tshuva barachmi u'maisuli. So fine, maybe they're not such great tzaddikim. There's no tzaddikim, but maybe they'll do tshuva. So usually kvar kavul huzman. It's time for the Beis Hamikdash to be destroyed. Shnemar, as the pasuk says, Yomi hakesa yavo beso, that it will be time that the house will be basically come. In Kesa Elazmans, which is the time, Shnemer Bekesel Yom Chagenu, that the appointed time. Sholchu Sisfuahua, it's right now, it's winter time. V'lomatzina di asi metalga umitra. Now snow and rain's going to come. It's not a good time to fight. So Shalchle, so they said back, Ta Ashina Datura, the teeth of the mountains will come and protect you from the weather. Shenemer Shilchu Kar Moishel, that he'll send a messenger to the ruler, Eretz Mitzela Medabra El Har Bas Sion. So the mountains will protect you from the weather, so you can attack even in the winter. Shalach luhu iyasina, if we come, lisle duchda diasvanobe. We have no place, says Rashi. There's no place around Yerushalayim. We're not going to be able to be safe from all the rain. Fine, in Yerushalayim, whatever, but not on the outskirts. We're going to get hit with all this terrible weather. That their graves are even better than your palaces. So what Dichsiv be'esahi nuam Hashem yoitzi es atzamois Malchi Yehuda, the bones of Malchi Yehuda, yes atzmois Sarah of the princes, yes atzmois hakohanim, yes atzmois hanavim, yes atzmois Yosher Yerushalayim mikavreihem ustachum, and it'll be spread out with shemesh hareach l'chol tzava hashamayim asher ahevom asher avdom asher helchu achareihem. So what ended up happening? Taka, we're going to stop here. He listened and surrounded Yerushalayim on the 10th day of Teves, when it is very, very cold. So that's Taka when he attacked, even though it was very cold, but he was enticed by Ammon and Moab, that it would have been okay for him to have done so. Again, we'll stop there, but this is, again, what happened to Nebuchadnezzar, and, of course, the story of Nebuzaradan. Question TB, well, let's start off with the first questions, the regular questions. Question 10, Mihar Sanhedrin, we did that. V'chalkalem Laila. Ketzah Pirsha B'Gemara Laila Hanemer Pasuk Zeh. So Laila could be referring to, I see our head over there. Laila could be referring to a Malach. That's its name. That account, it was with Avraham, and it helped him in the war against the 5 kings. Or Shiasi Imo Masalayil, it was an action of night. Dahainu the Nilchamu B'Shvilo HaKachavim Kamo Shiasu B'Shvil Barak. That it waged war like with the stars, just like in the times of Barak. Question 12, Mimnei B'Nehem Shal Oisra Shayim, who are the children that actually did a lot of great Torah and everything. So Sisra, Sanhedrin, and Haman are the answers, which is the same question as TB 16. So let's just mark that down. Sadi Vav Amud Beis is the same as question 12. TB 16. Okay. Question TA, possibly. 15. Mihem b'nei banav shel Sanhedrin shilm the Torah barabim. So we had this on both dafim, but we'll just hit it right over here, which is Shmaya and Avtalyoin, which is question TA 15. So Shmaya and Avtalyoin ended up being among the tzaddikim of that generation, even though they came from Sanhedrin. Adkan.